Hey guys, and welcome to a new video on this channel. In last video we made a bottom navigation application that you can see here on the right. If you haven't seen that video, check it out. In today's video we will be making an app that uses a side navigation. With this side navigation we will cycle between activities instead of fragments as we did the last time. So get ready and watch the video. As you can see, I already made the Android Studio project and I already added some of the activities that we will need today. So we're gonna have 4 activities in total, but mainly those 3 are gonna be the activities that we actually see. The base activity is the activity that they are gonna inherit their functions from. The same is in the layouts. The activity home, results and settings layout we will not look at a lot today. What I've done is mainly added one text view with home, settings and results to show me that I'm actually looking at the home activity or the results activity or the settings activity. Most of our work will be done in the layout of the activity base. So let's start. This layout is going to determine what our app looks like. So we want to have a navigation on the side that opens when we hit a certain button. To do that, we can't use the constraint layout because that's all within the box. We actually want something that moves in from the side. So let's change this for a drawer layout. And when we use a drawer layout, we can add a tool that says open drawer and we say start for now, so that it opens from the left in our preview. Also, I want to be able to access my drawer layout from the class, so we'll give it an ID and we call it drawer layout. So let's start by actually making our navigation view now. So we'll use a navigation view. The width is gonna be wrap content and the height is gonna match the parent. We also want to define where the navigation view is located. So we'll define a gravity, which is to the start. We also want to be able to reference this navigation view as well. So we'll give it an ID and we call it navigation view. Lastly, we need to give it a menu. So we used the long way last time. I'll show you the shorter way this time. If you right click on the resources folder, we can say new Android resource file. We'll call it menu and we say resource type menu and then we're there. So this app will use the same menu as we used in the bottom navigation view. So for this video I will speed up the process and just show you what we have. So that is our menu done. As you can see, we have 3 items. We have 1 item for our home activity, 1 for our results activity and 1 for our settings. I've added the titles, the IDs and the icons. And that's all we need to do for our menu. So now when we go back to our layout that we were making, we can add this menu to the navigation view. So we'll say app menu and then we reference the menu that we just made. So now I want to start working on the rest of the application, and to do that I don't want to see this drawer. So I'll just take the start away. To open the navigation view we want to have a button, and I want to have that button in the toolbar. So we are gonna make our own custom toolbar. We do that by right clicking on layout, saying new layout resource file. And here we can define what we want to have. So we can say the file name is gonna be toolbar and our root element is not gonna be a constraint layout. It's gonna be a Android X toolbar. The source set is fine and the directory name is fine as well. So we'll click OK. And that gives us the first basic code we need for the toolbar. I want the layout height to wrap the content instead. I want to change the background so that the background is the primary color of our theme. And finally, I want to add a navigation icon. The icon I don't have in my drawer build list yet, so we'll add it there, and then we can reference it here, menu, drawable, menu. So now we can use this toolbar in our base activity layout. And the way we will do that is by using a linear layout, because we will use the toolbar on the top and we'll have a container for the content beneath it. So if we make a linear layout, we will match the width and the height to the parent, and we'll say that the orientation of this linear layout is vertical. Now we want to include our toolbar. We'll give it an ID, toolbar, and we'll include the layout, which is the toolbar layout. So that's going to be on the top, and then we want to have our frame layout, which is going to match the parent and match the parent, so that it fills whatever is left. And then I want to be able to reference that one as well. So we'll use an ID, content, container. That should be all for this layout. So if we go to our base activity, we see that we already have the default class system. So the first thing we want to do in this class is tell Android that we have made a custom toolbar. So we're going to have a toolbar section. We're going to reference our toolbar, find view by ID, and we call it toolbar. And then the toolbar that we made here, we want to use that one to set the support action bar. Secondly, we want to reference our navigation view. So let's say navigation view. Navigation view is find view by ID, ID, navigation view. And with that navigation view, I want to bring it to the front so that when it's opened, we can actually see it. Then what I want to do is make sure that when we press the button within the toolbar, that it actually opens. So to do that, we will make a toggle. So let's say action bar drawer toggle. That is the toggle that we're going to use. We're going to call it a toggle. And we're going to make a new action bar drawer toggle. And if we look at what that function needs, we actually see that it needs to have the drawer layout as well. So before we use that one, we're going to reference our drawer layout. In the toggle, we need to give it a context. So that's going to be this. Then we need to give it the drawer layout. We need to give it the toolbar that we're using. And we need to give it two strings, an open string and a closed string. So let me add those strings to the string.xml. As you can see, I already made them, so we can reference them directly. We want to connect this toggle to our drawer layout. So we say drawer layout, we add a drawer listener, and that is the toggle. And then we want lastly to sync the state. Now we need to do one final thing, because now we have the listener that will make sure that our navigation view opens, but we also want to have a listener listening to whether we click a menu item in that navigation. We say on the navigation view, set navigation item selected listener, and I will make a new one within this class. So I'll say this, and then we'll call it click listener. And we'll alt enter, create method, and then we see it is created for us. And this method is actually going to be very similar to the method we used in the bottom navigation view. So we're going to have a switch case, and that is going to take the menu item.item ID. And then we have three cases again. So we have the case in which case the ID is navigation home. Then we have a case in which case the ID is navigation results. And we have a case in which it is navigation settings. Now what we're going to do within these cases is slightly different. Because we're not using fragments here, we're using intents, because we're using separate activities. So what we want to do is we say start activity, and then we use a new intent. And the new intent basically says we're going from this activity to this activity. But since we use a base activity, we don't know which activity we're at now. That is like non-constant. So instead we'll use getApplicationContext, and then we need to refer to which activity we want to go, which in this case is the home activity class. So that is our basic function in these cases. So we'll use that one, not there, but there. In case of the results, it of course needs to go to the results activity, and in case of the settings, it needs to go to the settings activity. Then I want to add my returns. Also, with the home activity, I want to make sure that when we go back home, the back stack of applications or activities in the back is being deleted. So here I'll add a finish so that our queue of activities that we can go back to doesn't like add up all the way. Now we have a warning because we're using non-constant resource IDs, but we can suppress that warning and that will be fine. Our last return statement is false in case we don't run the switch. If we run it now, it wouldn't work because we haven't edited anything in our home, results and settings activity. So that's next. So what we want to do here is we want to not extend from the basic app compact activity, but we want to extend from our base activity that we just made. So when the home activity runs the onCreate, in this super statement, it's first gonna run the onCreate that we just made in our base activity. So what we want to do here is not set the content view to be the layout, because that would make sure that our home activity gets called and not our base activity. So we want to take that one away. What we want to do instead is inflate the frame layout that we made. So we'll call the frame layout, we'll say content, and we find the view by the ID, which in this case is the content container. And now with that content container, we can say get layout inflator dot inflate. There we'll say layout, so activity home, and then our content. So that makes sure that it gets inflated. And then with each activity, I also want to make sure that the right menu item has already been like set to checked. So within our navigation view, and remember that's the navigation view that we had in this base activity. But here it is a local variable, so we cannot reference it from the home activity. So what I want to do is make it a non-local. And what we see now in our home activity is that we can actually reference it. So navigation view dot set checked item r.id, and we want to set navigation home. And the same we want to do for our results activity and our settings activity. So now that we have all of these updated, let's run our app and see if it works. So right now when we run the app, we get an error that this activity already has an action bar. And that's actually correct. That's something I forgot to tell you. So when we use our own custom toolbar, we need to disable it in our themes. So as you can see, in our theme, the parent of the theme is with a dark action bar. So we want to change this to no action bar. And we want to do the same in our night mode. Otherwise, we will get the error we just saw. So now as we run it on our emulator, we should be able to see that it opens, and it does indeed. However, we don't see our home yet being loaded, and we need to click on our home first to make sure that it does. And that is because our default activity is probably still our base activity. So to change that, we can go into our manifest, in which we can indeed see that our launcher activity is the base activity. And we would like that the launcher activity is the home activity. So we can just change that around. And now as we rerun the app on our emulator, we will see that it loads into our home. When we click on the toggle, our navigation view opens. And when we click on results, we go to our results view. When we click on settings, we go to our settings. Congratulations, you made it to the end of this video. Hopefully you learned how to use the site navigation view. and how to cycle through activities using intents. If you like this video and you want to see more, don't forget to subscribe. And if you want to be the first to know if I uploaded a new video, you can click the bell down below. See you in the next video.